Bowling is a wonderful game enjoyed by people of all ages all over the world. But to really enjoy the game, you need to get started with the proper techniques. And on this program, I'm going to teach you those techniques. Most bowling centers are equipped with rental shoes and balls that are available for your use. However, to really enjoy the game to its maximum, you should get your own pair of bowling shoes and your own bowling ball. You can go to the pro shop in the bowling center. They have a professional ball driller that'll fit you properly so that the ball feels very comfortable on your hand. You enjoy the game to its maximum and you score at your best. There's been a great deal of controversy on what a bowling ball will actually do, the hardnesses, the porosity of a bowling ball. By porosity, I mean the roughness of the shell, what causes things to happen with different kinds of bowling balls, whether they be rubber or plastic. Now, there are different benefits from using rubber than there are from using plastic. Rubber ball normally, when it goes down the lane, doesn't react quite as much to the surface of the lane. The plastic ball will react to whatever's there immediately. If it hits a slight dry area, it grips immediately and moves. If it hits a slight wet area or oily area, it tends to skid more. There are three basic approaches that bowlers use: the three-step approach, the four-step approach, and the five-step approach. What I'm going to use for instructional purposes to teach you the proper approach is the four-step approach. Now, for the proper distance from the foul line for your beginning stance, you start here facing away from the pins, take 4 normal steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another half a step to give you enough room to slide at the foul line when you go into your last step. Here, then you turn around, face the pins, and you're in your proper stance to get started to the foul line. Now, we get the bowling ball, return to that starting position, very important. Stand with your knees slightly flexed and relaxed, your upper body straight. Hold the bowling ball about waist high out in front of you like this, with most of the weight in the opposite hand, so that this relaxes your bowling hand. You can then swing the ball freely from the shoulder. The proper position for your fingers and your thumb in the bowling ball now before you go into your release is to have them between 3 and 6 o'clock on the dial. This gives you a good release position, a good rotation on the ball when it goes into the pins for maximum strike power. Now you're ready to roll the ball. Remember to be completely relaxed. Push the ball straight out with the first step. 2, 3, 4, and you strike. We'll reverse the picture and see that right-handed. Okay, let's go back and talk a little bit about spot bowling, what it really can do for you. What the reasons for it are is because as I travel around the country and teach beginning bowlers, even some advanced bowlers, they come up to me and one of the common questions they ask is, why should I spot bowl? What good does it do me? And I'll give you a couple of good reasons what it's all about. And first I'll give you a little history of what exactly the rangefinders are, or as we call them, the arrows, what they do for you. Now the history of the rangefinders was that before they were invented or put on the lanes, which is about 50 years ago, people had to pick out a dark or a light board on the lane and use that as their target, which is very difficult when you're standing 15 to 18 feet behind the foul line and beginning your approach, especially in the old days when they had very poor lighting. When the new modern centers now, with the ultra-modern equipment, it's much easier to pick out your target, and you can pick a spot between the rangefinders or actually use the rangefinders. Now, what the spot bowling really does for you is you pick your target on the lane, one of the rangefinders, normally the second arrow for most bowlers, especially beginners, is that it gives you a target that's only 15 feet away rather than a target that is clear down the lane, 60 feet from you, which is as far as the head pin is from the foul line. It's very difficult to hit a target that far away consistently. It's very easy, by comparison, to hit a target that's only 15 feet away. All right, now that we've made a good approach, remember, we paced off that extra half a step so that we could get the slide in there. You must slide for good balance. Balance is very important. Your knee must be bent, shoulders parallel to your target line, and right directly over your knee so that you can extend to your target with a good high follow-through for maximum roll on the ball so it drives into the pins to get those strikes we all really want to get. Let's go back and talk about relaxation. The most important ingredient in the game of bowling, if you're going to do it well, is to be relaxed. By being relaxed, remember when we talked about bending the knees a little bit so you're relaxed in your stance to start with, keeping the weight of the ball in the opposite hand so that you can relax your shoulder, let the ball swing free from the shoulder with a good relaxed swing. A good relaxed arm swing creates a constant speed in the ball, so the ball will do the same thing every time when you release it. Now also, with a good relaxed arm swing, you're going to get to the foul line at the same speed, which keeps your feet at a constant pace for good balance at the foul line. Let's talk about releases. You've heard of the backup ball, you've heard of the straight ball, and maybe the hook ball. Now, most people that score well in the game of bowling use a hook ball. The straight ball isn't used because the ball has a tendency to go down the lane and deflect away from the pins. It's very difficult to get good strike power out of a straight ball. The same thing is true with reverse hook. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate the releases for you, all three releases. You can see what I mean by them. And here we'll start with the straight ball. Now, the straight ball is released with the hand going straight through the center of the ball in this manner, the ball rolling off the end of the fingers. Doesn't hook either way, just goes straight into the pins. Now watch closely and I'll show the straight ball to you. Nice and relaxed, straight to the pins, right through the back of the ball. Notice the ball doesn't hook, goes straight to the pins. And again, because the ball isn't hooking, it's not driving into the pins, it's difficult to strike with that. The next release I'll show you will be a backup ball. Now the backup ball or reverse hook is thrown in this manner, with the inside, the elbow going to the inside of the ball in this, which creates reverse hook, the wrist turning this way, the ball rolls in the opposite direction or rotates in the opposite direction. Okay, here we go with the reverse hook or backup ball. I'll use the same type of approach as far as footwork goes, just rotating the elbow to the inside and the wrist in the opposite direction. Ball rotates the opposite direction. Sometimes it hooks. That one didn't. Okay, now we'll throw the normal delivery that most bowlers will use for maximum striking action. That's a hook ball, or the ball that goes out of your hand and hooks into the pins for maximum drive and maximum striking power. Again, nice and relaxed, knees slightly bent, and a good follow-through. That's why you throw a hook, because that's how you strike, and that's what we all want to do. We want to get those good high scores with a good proper release, good speed, nice and relaxed. Enjoy the game the most that way. That's exactly what roll in the ball is. The different kinds of roll, what causes them, different releases that cause different kinds of rolls, and where they actually track on the surface of the ball. You'll need to know what these kinds of rolls are naturally if you're going to talk to someone in a pro shop and say, well, my ball rolls over here, and I want you to drill a ball so it's balanced to help that particular kind of roll, or whatever it happens to be. So anyway, it's a good idea that you know what the nomenclature of the different things are and what causes them. Now we'll start with the lowest roll, of course, there is, and that's a spinner. And you can see the holes in the ball here. A spinner would track way over here, way over here. And that's caused by the bowler getting to this point in his release and rotating his hand in this direction, just like that, right on top of the ball spins. Goes down the lane, spinning on a very small surface of the ball, very hard, difficult type of release to control, and it really doesn't give you good pin action in the back. You can't make very many good adjustments with it. It's, I don't think, a very good release at all. The next one, very basically, is what we call a three-quarter roll. A three-quarter roll is called a three-quarter roll because it rolls over three-quarters of the surface of the ball, like this. As you can see, it comes about an inch to an inch and a half from the thumb hole and approximately an inch and a half to 2 inches from the thumb. So it would be in this area of the ball, through here. This is a three-quarter roll and what I consider to be best type of roll for most lane conditions. It's the kind that will give you the most pin action, the most carry on the back end, and it's the easiest to make your adjustments with and be consistent. Now this type of roll you get by having your hand in this position, slightly to the right of center, your fingers. Okay? As you hold the ball like this, keep it there all the way through your swing. As you start to release the ball, your thumb comes out, your wrist rotates, not your arm. Not your arm. You always keep your elbow straight through the center of the ball. But your wrist will rotate up to this position. That creates a good, firm release, three-quarter roll, the kind that gets you the most pin action. The next standard type release, or the other one that some players use still today, is called a full roller, where the ball rolls through the center of the ball. And it's called a full roller because it runs right through the center of the ball, obviously. It runs between the fingers and the thumb hole in this manner. This is a good roll. It rolls well, but normally it's very difficult to play from anywhere inside the second arrow with this type of roll because the ball doesn't make a good enough move on the back to get good hit action, good pin action for you. So I, again, think this one isn't really a good type roll to have, the full roller. I suggest that all of you really work hard on trying to throw a good 3/4 roll. Again, the 3/4 roll, when it hits the pins, makes the pins go out sideways. They go out flat like this. And as the pins go out flat like this, you can see what happens. It spins the pins, gives you more carry. If the pins go out standing up like this, as they would with a full roller, again, the roll that goes between the thumb and fingers, if they go out standing up, obviously you're not going to get the same kind of pin action. You're going to leave corner pins, floor pins aren't going to trip, things of this nature. Again, you can play more angles with a 3/4 roll. You make more adjustments with the 3/4 roll. You get more pin action out of the pins with a 3/4 roll. Just obviously the best way to go. What we're going to get into now is one of the most important parts of the game of bowling, being capable of making spares. Very few of us can strike every time we throw the ball down there. In fact, I have never met anybody yet that could. So what we're going to learn how to do at this point in the program is cover those spares that you will leave from time to time, no matter what they are and what variety they might be in. All right, now, as you can see, the pins that I've left standing are very common leave for a lot of bowlers because they get a little bit quick with their feet or make a little bit of a bad shot, and they leave, for example, what I've left here, which is the 1, 3, 6, 9. Very common leave. Sometimes you leave the 9 with just, sometimes you leave just the 1, 3, 6. Anyway, the proper way to make this spare, I'll show you now, is to move slightly with your feet to the left. For me, as a left-hander, to the right, if it was on the other side of the lane for a right-hander. So I'm going to move 3 boards to my left with my feet, which makes a 6-board difference down there, which will make the ball cross over the head pin and cover the spare on the other side of the head pin. For the right-hander, it would look like this. Now, here we go. We've got a spare that's very common. Right-handed, left-handed bowler, doesn't make any difference. We all have the same spare leaves. Now, again, light in the pocket. I've left the 3, the 5, and the 6. It's called part of the bucket. Now, if I'd left the 9 pin with it, they'd call it the bucket, the 3, 5, 6, 9. For the right-hander, it's the 2, 4, 5, 8. The same spare, just on the opposite side of the lane. Now, again, as I showed you, when I converted the 1, 3, 6, 9, I moved slightly to my left with my feet, using the same target that I used for my strike ball on the lane, the second arrow. I want the ball to come into this area, just like a pocket shot, to take out the 3, 5, 6. Slightly to the left of my normal strike position, maybe just an inch or two, using the same target on the lane. Make the ball go right between them, and you cover your spares. That's 10 more pins on your average right there. This is a very common leave for both right-handers and left-handers. For the right-hander, it's the 5-7. For the left-handers, it's the 5-10. This is caused when the ball is a little bit behind the head pin or late into the pocket, as we call it, or maybe the ball isn't driving sufficiently enough. You didn't really get that good lift on the ball to make it drive in and take the 5 pin out, so you've left with the pocket split, the good old 5-10 or 5-7. Now, we're going to show you how to make this spare. We'll show you how to stand. We'll give it a try right now. Again, because you want the ball, because the 5 pin is farther down the lane, you want the ball to go farther down the lane or at a wider angle before it breaks to the pin. It's farther down the lane than the pocket is what I'm saying. Now, so I'm going to stand with my feet about 2 boards to the right of my normal strike ball. I use my same strike target, making the same release I would to throw a strike ball, nice and relaxed, and hopefully we'll make the 5-10. Let's look at that from the other side. Do it right, just like we showed you there. Most spares get just as easy as the 1-pinners. Because of the hard surface and the oil moving around, the dominant shot, again, is a lot of turn on the ball and a late break, very late break, because of the light pins flying as much as they do. The pins are going to pretty much stay the same, I believe, even though there is a lot of movement throughout the industry to try to get heavier pins with a lower center of gravity and things of this nature. I really truly believe that the pins aren't going to change that much, but the lane surfaces definitely are changing. And what we're going to come back to, I think, in the future is a type of surface that it's going to be reminiscent of the 50s, 1950s, where the ball, if you could roll the ball and stroke it and keep it, say, on a direct line to the pocket with a forward roll, that's the kind of roll that I think 5-10 years from now is going to be the dominant type thing, the stroke shot, as we call it, instead of the overpowering crank shot. And I think you're going to see that come into effect more and more. So I think that the bowlers today, if they're in that stage where they want to become an advanced player and they want to get to the point where they can have the kind of shot that's going to be a winning shot in the future, should not try to learn to crank the ball so much, especially the younger players coming up, the junior bowlers, people of this nature, and the bowlers that are in their late teens, early 20s, and may think in 5-6 years they'll be ready to bowl in a lot of tournament play, or maybe they're looking for possibly to become a professional bowler, maybe whether it be a man or a lady. I think they should start learning the kind of shot that is a control shot, the kind of shot that you can make the ball do different things on the lane surface, break at a different point, farther down the lane, closer to you, still keep the ball in play in a very small area of the lane, 2 or 3 board area, without making the large adjustments, not expecting the big break on the back end. But it's a kind of a control game that takes a lot of mental discipline, takes a lot of, let's say, practice to learn the different releases and make the ball break at a different point in the lane. Some of it you can do with the surface of the ball, some of it you can do with the balance in the bowling ball, but it's much better if you can do a lot of it yourself with your hand positions and a lot of it yourself with the speed on the ball and the number of revolutions you actually apply to the ball to make it break at a different point on the lane. You combine those things, and a very easy thing to remember, that revolutions plus speed equal the break point on the lane. Now again, going back to the winning shot in the future, which I feel will be the winning shot in the future, will be the forward roll with a slight break on the back. A break of only 3, 4, 5 boards, not the huge break that the players are employing today, but the break that is controllable. It's going to be the dominant shot of the future, again, in my opinion. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is demonstrate a few different releases, basically using the area around the second arrow on the lane. As I mentioned before, I feel that the shots of the future may be that you have to stay within 2 or 3 boards of a certain area on the lane and be able to control that area. In other words, make it playable. Not look around for something that you can't play or you can't find, but you might come in there and find out that you can only play one area of the lane as you cross the center. If you're bowling a tournament or bowling league and you're crossing lanes, you may have to stay around one part of the lane. So I'm going to show you some different releases, different ball speeds, different break points on the lane to make different things happen using the same bowling ball. The release itself is a reaction caused by the position of the feet at the foul line. In most cases, a player, if his feet are ahead of the ball, as I mentioned earlier, has a tendency to really crank the ball. In other words, his foot is stopped sliding, he's there, the ball's still back there, he's going to crank. Doesn't have much choice. It's either crank it or drop it. Same thing holds true with the other extreme, the stroker. He's here, his foot is stopped, the ball is in this position, all he can do is follow through. First of all, we'll start with the cranker, the bowler who plants his foot and gets a lot of revolutions and a lot of turn on the ball. Now, it doesn't really matter where this ball ends up, but just watch basically my footwork, and you'll see how far ahead of the ball I'll be at the foul line. You'll see that my foot will be stopped, the ball will still be back here, and I'll have to pull it through and come around the side to get a lot of revolutions on it. Now, here we go. I'll do it a little slow so you can really pick it up. See how I have to pull the ball through? The number of revolutions on the ball has increased by 3 or 4 from my normal shot going down the lane. It's a larger break. The ball obviously will hit harder, but you can see how much harder that is to control than what the shot I think you should learn to play is a good, firm stroke shot. Now I'm going to demonstrate very quickly, again, what I feel is a good type roll. This is what we call a stroke shot. In fact, I think what I'll do rather than do that right now is go into just the opposite extreme of the crank, whereas the ball and the foot get there together, and all you can do is follow through. Now watch closely. I'll do it again slowly so you can see it. They'll get there together. So all you can do is let go. And you can't really get a good lift on the ball because they get there at the same time. My foot stopped and the ball was already here, so all I could do is let go. A lot of us have that problem because we just won't take the time to walk, get ourselves set, and get the ball in a proper position at the point of release. And this is done by getting up there with a good push away on your first step. If you do that with a good push away, you'll find yourself in position not only to get the lift you need, but the slight turn you need to make the ball finish into the pins. Not a lot of turn, but also not the other extreme, no turn at all. And I'll demonstrate for you now the position I think your ball and foot should be in at the point of release so that you can get the ball over the foul line with a good lift and a slight turn on the ball. Here we go. Good follow through. That way you get a good reaction on the back end, and you can move the ball around by doing this, as I mentioned before, farther down the lane, closer up, get different things to happen without changing your timing, without changing your ball speed that much. You can change your release by changing the position of your wrist, which is what I do, and I think that's the way to do it myself, or you can do it by changing the point of your release. In other words, where it's at in relationship to your feet, which is very difficult to do. So I think, and what I would teach you today, is that if you keep your wrist firm for your normal shot, and if you want to cut revolutions down, get less revolutions, make the ball go a little farther when you want to cut your speed down, then you want to open your wrist. In other words, bend it back slightly away from the ball so that it's a weak, what we call a weak wrist position. This gets you in a, obviously, and I'll show you quite easily, this gets your hand in a position where instead of being in a firm, straight position as this is, you can see that if I go this way with my wrist, which is a weak wrist, my hand isn't far around the ball. The farther around the ball your hand is, obviously, the more revolutions you can put on it. So if I weaken my wrist up, I cut down the number of revolutions. By doing this, I can change my speed to a slower speed, still keep the ball in play. If I want more revolutions, obviously, I've got to cup the ball slightly, get around it farther, around that round surface farther, so that I can apply more revolutions. If I do that, I got to be careful to keep my speed firm because the ball will break right off the lane if I don't keep my speed up. All right, I'm going to demonstrate cutting down of revolutions with a weak wrist. Watch the ball, it won't break much, it'll go fairly straight, and I'll slow my speed down and it still won't hook very much. Here we go, an open wrist or a weak wrist position. And basically it'll be almost a straight ball. As you can see, my hand is very open, very weak position on the wrist. And the ball just rolls end over end. Very little break. Now, the reason I could throw that kind of shot and what I would use it for is if, for example, the back end, in other words, the pin area of the lane, the ball is breaking very sharply. It's very hard to control the ball if it's breaking very sharply. So what you want to do is cut down the break on the back by creating a weak wrist position, keep the ball in play that way. The back end, when it's breaking very sharply, it's dry. It creates the friction you need for the ball to drive into the pins. You don't have to apply it. You can do this kind of a shot here. Again, staying in the same area of the keeping the ball in play, the lane itself will create the carry for you. Now on the other hand, let's say there's a lot of oil on the back end and I want the ball to finish a little harder. So, to the other extreme, you cup your wrist. And when you cup your wrist, obviously, as I mentioned, you're farther around the ball surface, you're going to get more revolutions. To get more revolutions, you have to keep your speed up a little bit. You don't want to soften it up. So to do that, watch what happens with the ball now as I cup it a little bit. And you can see more revolutions, the ball breaks. If you don't keep your speed up, it breaks through the center of the head pin. When you do practice, make it pay off. Don't waste those shots. Don't just go out there and try to throw strikes. Anybody, once they get lined up, if you're a reasonably good bowler, can keep throwing, on today's conditions especially, strike after strike on one particular lane. Now, that's really not practicing. That's just showing off for yourself and maybe some friends that might be there. So let's make it, when you go out and practice, let's try to learn something. Always try to learn something. Never throw the ball that you don't learn something. Every time you let go of that bowling ball, whether it's a good shot or a bad shot, you can learn something by how the ball reacts on the lane. So never just throw the ball and turn your back on it. All right, now when you go to practice, if it's possible, try to get at least a pair of lanes. If you can, try to get 4 of them. Take 2 to 4 bowling balls down there with you. All of you, if you're really serious about your game, are going to have you know, at least a couple of bowling balls, maybe 3 or 4 that are balanced a little different, or they might have a different porosity or a different kind of hardness in the shell, things of this nature. Take all of them down there with you, use them all, play various angles, things of this nature, using 2 to 4 lanes. 4 lanes is what I think is ideal because you can use, try to get the center if possible, give you a little different shot on each lane. It's very easy for them to do, especially in the morning before the leagues get in there and things of this nature, or late at night after leagues. You can go down there with a towel and take a little oil off one area, add a little oil someplace else, and now you've got 4 different lane conditions you can practice on. As you practice across the 4 lanes, remember to try different angles, try different ball speeds, try your different surfaces on your bowling balls, see which one reacts the best for you that you're comfortable with, and then start moving around, learning to play with the different swings, the different approach patterns, so that you can become a more, shall we say, a whole bowler instead of someone that can only play one shot. I hope you've enjoyed learning the fundamentals of the game of bowling. I'm sure if you practice what you've seen here, you'll learn to be a better bowler, your scores will go up, you enjoy the game more, and that's what it's all about. Now, I'm going to leave you with that thought. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this particular program. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed making it for you. And in the future, all the best of luck in your bowling. I know you're going to be a good player. Pay attention and you'll learn, and everything will work out fine. And I'll see you on the tour someday, maybe.
I'm Don Morris, president of Morris Video.
And I'm George Morris. Thank you for watching our program. We hope you found it helpful and fun to watch.
If you'd like to broaden your horizons, here are some of our other programs to help you help yourself.